I'm Letty.
And I'm Scarlett.
And this is Sherborne Girls Music Podcast.
When you want to cure your blues, just listen to our tunes and we will make them last. When you're down, we'll be around, 'cause we're the Sherborne Girls Podcast.
Hi, today we're here with the headmistress of Sherborne Girls, Dr. Sullivan. How are you this morning?
I am really, really well, thank you. It's a beautiful day today. It's really sunny, and just walking over here from my office was lovely. Saw lots of pupils, lots of staff, and just had a really, lovely little walk. It's great. So thank you for welcoming me here today.
Of course. So first of all, we're just going to ask a few questions about your music.
First of all, what kind of music do you enjoy listening to generally?
I think that's a really difficult question in many ways, but very easy also, because it depends on what I'm doing at the time of year, where I am, all of those things together. So, for example, if I'm reading a book, I might quite like listening to some classical music because that's quite relaxing for me. If I'm perhaps doing something around the house, I might want something with a bit more of almost a beat and a rhythm, a bit more, not necessarily uplifting. Lots of classical music is incredibly uplifting, but perhaps something a little bit more contemporary. And then if I'm going for a run, I want often something with a really, really good beat so that I feel energised and it's appropriate for there. But equally, some music can make you feel a little bit down. Some music can really energise you, make you super positive. So I think it depends where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing. Going into somewhere where there's jazz playing can make it feel really great. And a Sunday morning, if you go into a cafe for brunch and there's jazz playing, oh my goodness, how perfect is that? So it really does depend where you are and what you're doing. Great question, thank you.
I completely agree. Do you have a favourite composer or artist?
So my entire family, all my siblings, I'm one of four, mock me for the fact that the music I listen to is pretty much the same music I listened to when I was 16, 17, 18. And my brother in particular, when he sees my music, he says, for goodness sakes, Ruth, you've been listening to this same stuff for 30 years. Now, to me, it shows I'm committed to those bands. So I really still love Fleetwood Mac. There's a group called Live. I really like, there's a Norwegian artist called Aurora. She's absolutely incredible, I think. Equally, I love R.E.M. I like Crowded House, Midnight Oil, Bob Marley, loads of stuff. Now, I'm really lucky because my parents had me when they were very young. So I grew up, and I was born in the early 70s. I grew up listening to all of their music, which kind of has made a bit of a comeback. So things like The Who, Led Zeppelin, Eagles, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, Aretha Franklin, Bob Marley, Earth, Wind and Fire, all of those kind of bands and artists are what I grew up listening to, and I continue to really enjoy them. Equally, more classical composers. I love horn concertos and I love cello concertos, so that's a bit of a contrast. I love Elgar's cello concerto to this day. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. I also quite like almost slightly sadder pieces of music. Not that Elgar's cello concerto isn't quite emotional and sad, but I love Verdi's Requiem as well. So I quite like contrasting music, and it's appropriate for the right time.
I think it's so nice that you have such a varied music taste. You talked about yourself when you were 16. When you were in school yourself, do you have any specific memories of being involved in musical activities or clubs?
So certainly at school, I wasn't as involved in music as I'd like to have been. And hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? So at my first senior school, I was in choir. So I sang as part of the choir in St Paul's Cathedral in London because my school was based just over the road from there. And I also played the cello for a very short period of time. I played the oboe as well, very badly, I hasten to add. So I've always been interested in aspects of music, but I certainly didn't dedicate enough time to it. when I was at Sherborne Girls for sixth form, I took part in an activity called Desert Island Discs, where we could all share the music we really enjoyed, if we were stranded on a desert island. And all the way through my childhood, I enjoyed going to concerts, both for more contemporary artists as well as concerts in London when I was growing up.
So, moving on to the future now, how would you describe the role that music currently plays in your life?
Great question. For me, music is almost on a par with sort of physical activity for me. So I enjoy running because it allows me to switch off and take myself away from the daily routine of what I'm doing. Music's the same. So often I run listening to music. I can literally feel myself unwinding, relaxing, and the music and the running together really help with that. Equally, I might be I might be in bed falling asleep, and music might really help me with that. I find it incredibly calming much of the time, so that's how music helps me. Calming, it allows me to recenter. But I have also said that it energises me. So again, I know it's sort of almost slightly repetitive. It really depends on the situation. It's a key part of my life, for sure. I'm surrounded by incredible members of my family and friends who all love music, not just in a car journey, but when we're cooking, we might have music playing in the background at home, just doing general day-to-day things. And I love, at school, coming to listen to girls play musical instruments, sing, whether it's in the grandstand hall, whether it's in an impromptu concert somewhere, whether I listen to the choir in the Abbey. And you might often see me in the Abbey closing my eyes. It's not because I'm falling asleep, it's because I often find I can hear music better with my eyes closed, which might sound a bit silly because you don't need your eyes closed to hear, but I find I can really be absorbed by that music. Yeah.
Similar to that question, from your viewpoint as a headmistress, what kinds of benefits and impacts do you see music having on individuals and on the community?
Okay, so another really good question. I think music is unbelievably powerful. It really is. You only need to look at some of the artists that you might be interested in who can draw crowds of tens of thousands. Music is a form of communication. It speaks to us and we speak to it. If we think about in school, kind of hymn practice is brilliant at bringing us together as a community. It allows us to break down sort of barriers in many ways. It really encourages sort of social interaction a lot of the time. I also think that when you look or when you are involved in music, it allows your imagination to go wild. You can really think of all different things that piece of music might release in you. In another way, music can really show commitment and discipline. Musicians spend hours and hours, don't they? So if I'm listening to a piece of music, I think, wow, that is incredible. What I'm listening to is a summation of hundreds of hours of practice. Also, not just the emotional connection, the social connection that we have. If you think about listening to different pieces of music from all around the world, it allows us that sort of cultural understanding about different parts of the world and economic understanding. One of the pieces I mentioned earlier by an artist called Aurora is one of the tracks is called The Seed, and actually it's all about our environment, all about the landscape. So there's a narrative that goes on there. So I think music plays a hugely important part in everybody's life. It can bring people together. It can separate as well. Lots of young people might it makes me sound very old. Lots of young people might have tension at home with parents who might want to listen to a very different type of music. But actually, we listen to different things as we go through life, and different things appeal to us.
Wow, that was a great answer. So everybody knows about your dog and how fond you are of her. Does she like music as well?
That is the best question so far. Thank you very much. So the wonderful Honey, who is the world's most beautiful dog, actually is a cockapoo, heading toward the grand old age of 6. I think she is fairly ambivalent about music, which is very, very sad. She doesn't protest if we put music on. She is quite musical herself, I would like to say. She can howl beautifully. But does she really appreciate music? I'm still working on that one. Maybe ask me in a year's time and I'll have a better answer. Okay? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.